also for you, as some of you haven't been there the whole day, I'm quoting now people, about 10 quotes, which I picked up during the day, and I think they just show quite well how we started and where we ended. So we started talking about the different accountability mechanisms at our disposal, and from the UN fact-finding missions, the AU fact-finding missions, the investigative mechanisms, the International Criminal Court, and Mohammed started by saying, what we need is not sectional but comprehensive accountability. That's what we need to address accountability. And very important was then to make the point that a foundational stone of any accountability are the Sudanese documenters who are in the room today, the lawyers and documenters who do the work. But there was then very soon, and also yesterday in our meeting with civil society, the discussion about how do we take the documentation work to the next level, may prosecutions or any other way, and I think that's also what Dondeya just alluded to. Stella was talking about the AU mechanisms and what they do, but that our task is keep pushing to establish mechanisms to address accountability in Sudan. Then we had the panel on the domestic justice systems, where the Supreme Court Judge Isaac said, you know, what we need to have is judicial creativity. We need to push the boundaries, create progressive jurisprudence, and bring he asked, in fact, bring universal cases to us, the judges, and we will have our experiences with it. Tina Alai mentioned also the interconnection of states who start to care about crimes being committed in the neighboring countries. And Joke mentioned the Nigerian saying, no condition is permanent. So if we don't get a potential perpetrator today, it does not mean that we never will get him. And political will is very often the elephant in the room, but also political leadership changes. Better to plant the seeds today and potentially harvest later. Another person said, you win by losing. Sometimes when you have cases and you may be losing them, but you have tested them, you have awareness raising may happen, and that may at the end be rather a win than losing something. Very often in many comments, it was important, the victim voices. Where are the victim voices? Are we including them often enough? Do we always ask what kind of justice victims want? So that aspect kind of came in nearly all of the panels. Then our friend from The Hague also mentioned that, you know, the domestic and international justice levels, that's not a competition. We are all on a spectrum where we need to work together and contribute to accountability. The policy, the new complementarity policy was also built on or created because the court, I think, realized what can the court do and what can the court not do. So that's when a renewed desire to assist domestic prosecutions started to occur. Future of ICL is domestic. And while this is an acknowledgement for many people, you do that using different mechanisms. Universal jurisdiction is one of them, and using open source mechanisms, definitely we heard a lot about that, how important that is to make your investigations stronger. Now, at the end, we discussed the issues also of that nowadays what we do, and what perhaps in the court, it's never happened 20 years ago, we can disrupt criminality in an open armed conflict, which is right now happening in Sudan. There are ways to disrupt criminality, and I think the last panel was talking about that. It's important here in this process that we join forces. I think that idea of joining forces, of building coalitions between civil society, the court mechanisms, and the UN mechanisms, that also was one idea which went through all the panels. And using the open source information, that's like taking like a deeper dive into your investigation, as I already mentioned. And in general, you know, this whole day, I think, may have increased the appetite for experimentation and be realistic of what you can achieve immediately, focus what you can achieve now, but also think about that the political will and these things change. And Kajal also mentioned the fact that in universal jurisdiction cases, we can and should work more incrementally. So we may start with the low-level, mid-level perpetrators and then work up. So that, and then the last summary and remarks of Don Dea, I think we still have them in our mind. So I think that was a full day. I just ran through some quotes just to get an idea of the different ideas which came up.